Jamaica is a homophobic society. We grew up to dislike homosexuals. We grew up to
when them see me as a gangster. So if me not tell him me a gay, him can't know.
We'll have drama in the gully like every day. They get in arguments. They even throw acid and chop each other. It can be very crazy.
First stop. You come with a knife.
In homosexuality, Jamaica don't have any hope. It's just no. Never gonna happen. They're gonna kill us faster.
You dress flamboyant and you're on the road. Your clothes got burned because someone run you down and for chop you and for stab you. All different type of stuff happen.
Jamaica's history of homophobia is by no means a secret. With cultural and religious conservatism rife, being out and proud isn't exactly an option. While some believe Jamaica's attitudes to homosexuality are slowly evolving, last year actually saw an increase in homophobic and transphobic violence, with attacks often taking place in broad daylight and shared across social media. We travelled to the capital city of Kingston to explore the reality of being gay in a country known for its LGBT intolerance. Though homosexuality is technically not illegal here, the presence of Jamaica's colonial-era buggery law, which criminalises anal sex, can land you a 10-year prison sentence with hard labour. In central Kingston, there is now a community of trans and gay youth living in a storm drain, or as the locals call it, a gully. Prominent LGBT activist Maurice Tomlinson offered to introduce us to the kids living in the gully at a protest he was organising to raise awareness about their situation.
We have classes in Jamaica. So we have what is called the rich queens and the scary queens. The rich queens are the gay men who are of some means, like myself. We can insulate ourselves from the worst forms of homophobia. So we have this tendency to think of all the poor queens or the scary queens being at fault for having this homophobia meted out against them. If they would just be more like us, they'd be safer. And if you're in a persecuted class as we are, if you manage to escape your persecution, you don't want to bring any taint of that persecution. So for example, this stand we're doing today will be dedicated to the scary queens, the ones who aren't able to insulate themselves against the worst forms of abuse. I hope they come. They're both scary and scared. The scary queens. That might seem like a pejorative term, but it's the term that has been used to describe them, and it has unfortunately gotten some kind of traction.
Have they adopted that term?
No, they refer to themselves as the Gully Queens, or...
it's always got queen in it somewhere.
So they are the touchstone for how far the movement will advance. When they start being respected and their rights being respected, then we know we've arrived. Until then, we haven't.
Unlike many LGBT people in Jamaica, the Gully Queens weren't trying to blend in or hide their sexuality for fear of being attacked. They actually seemed to be the most visible gay community because they didn't have a place to hide. And by stepping out of the gully in this protest was in itself an obvious act of defiance. It hadn't been 5 minutes before officials came to try and work out what we were doing.
We have been having some problems with members of the diverse sexual group. They live in the gully.
Yeah.
Like you have one that goes by the name Pebbles, another one goes by the name Batman, one that goes by the name Beyonce. If you see anybody passing with a phone, he will use like a knife or a machete, hold them up and steal these phones. They use the umbrella of the gay community to commit crimes. That's not a good reflection for the community.
But why are people having to live in the gully in the first place?
Living in the gully, it is by their choice. Their sexual orientation, that's their choice. Our police officers, we are not averse to persons' orientation. We invite them to come in and make reports. Most times they don't want to come back and give a statement. There are some persons who traverse these inner city communities and they wear their female garb, and they are not attacked.
Well, I mean, I find that kind of hard to believe because we've had them just sort of standing in sort of female dress here and they have people driving past shouting "Batty Man" and everything like that.
You will find that anywhere at all you go. But the same way, they also attack straight people.
Regardless of your sexuality, you could be a criminal. That's not what I'm saying. But one of the reasons that they're living in the sewers is because they feel like they can't be visible because they're going to get attacked.
And I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
I totally disagree with that statement.
What do you feel like you've achieved today?
Well, it is important that visibility happen. If you want to see change, people need to know who you're advocating for. It's easy to hate something you don't know.
Yeah.
And we want to say that today is Dagarin's birthday. Don't ask the lady what her age is.
For me, what have brought me to the Gully, people start finding out that I'm gay in my community. I went to a capture building and I get to meet friends, run away from them home, behaving the same way that I was behaving, all dolled up in female clothes. People go in upon them one night, them asleep, and chop him neck, them kill 2 of them. And that's where what we learned to capture house still, everybody come together and stay at the Gully. Right now, we guys want to leave the Gully because you don't know what will happen, who will jump down. And the Gully cold, mosquito bite you. So in the Gully, come like I want hell down there.
Unlike what many believed, it was obvious the Gully kids weren't there out of choice, living under an almost constant threat of random attacks. We wanted to find out what Jamaica's government were doing to protect its own LGBT youth. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller hit headlines in the run-up to the 2012 election by making controversial statements in favour of gay rights during her campaign. She also pledged to review the ancient buggery law, the first head of government ever to do so in Jamaica's history.
No one should be discriminated against because of their sexual orientation.
But already well into her 3rd year in office, nothing more has been said or done, leaving Jamaica's already voiceless LGBT community at odds against her.
Portia Simpson Miller once said that she was going to review the buggery law. A lot of people are saying that she hasn't done that.
There is a view that it is possibly time to put the law before Parliament. It does not necessarily mean that it will change. You cannot legislate against the culture of a people.
The buggery law, it seems to be applicable mainly just to people who are gay.
In the UK, I believe that it is okay if it is done in private.
Well, it's legal.
Legal, if it is done in private.
Well, I'm not saying that if the buggery law changed there would be anal sex in the streets. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm not saying you're saying that either.
Then why can't it be overturned?
Because of the culture of the people. If the Parliament overturns it without the people's strong support, then Parliament will pay the bitter price.
Some of the young LGBT kids, they feel that they're living in the gullies because they have nowhere to go, because finding work is almost impossible because of discrimination against them.
Have you seen any of those persons who live in the gully?
Yes, we've been spending time with them.
If you were an employer, would you employ any of them? Parenting has an immense role to play in all of this. Most of those persons who are there have been rejected from their own homes. That cannot be a responsibility of the government.
After speaking with the PMP, it didn't seem like the government thought that protecting its LGBT citizens was much of a priority, shifting the blame instead onto the parents. But if the buggery law were to be overturned, this position may be forced to change. Maurice Tomlinson had been driven out of Jamaica following an onslaught of death threats after his same-sex marriage. He returned to Kingston to front the pre-trial to attempt to overturn the buggery law.
I'm waiting for Maurice on our way to the Supreme Court to try and overturn the buggery law. There is a disconnect between the rich queens, like Maurice himself, and the kids living in the sewers. So what I want to know from Maurice is, what is overturning this law going to do for the people living in those conditions? Because I don't even see if overturning it's going to change their situation at all. What sort of the pre-trial entail? What are you sort of going up to the judge today to do?
Well, there are a couple of things we're trying to get done effectively. One, we want to strike out the case of some of the fundamentalist group which believes that decriminalizing private intimacy between men is going to lead to a spike in the rape of boys. Of course, that has nothing to do with the case, so we're trying to get that struck out.
We were out in the gullies last night. They're of the opinion that whilst they want the buggery law to be changed, they feel that if it is overturned, it's not going to change their situation a lot.
The reality is both are equally important. There's a false choice to say you have to do one or the other. And changing the law will assist you to do a change in culture, but also changing the culture will help the law to be changed, because judges, you know, parliamentarians, they all live in a society and they're impacted by what the culture says or view in relation to homosexuality. So we're doing both at the same time for the reason that we want to change culture.
Yeah.
But we know that the law is an impediment to changing the culture.
We're waiting for Maurice. He's inside. He's fighting for LGBT Jamaicans.
The main opponents are the JCHS, the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society, a powerful team of evangelical organisations fueled and powered by Jamaica's overwhelmingly Christian population.
Activities such as fisting, felching, rimming, scat chariot races, and other deviant behaviours are now to be considered normal and positive aspects of human sexuality.
With the pre-trial over and no immediate resolution, Maurice headed to the airport, having to leave Jamaica once again for fear of his safety. Back at the Gully, Daggering's boyfriend Andre offered to show us what life was like, living under the streets of Jamaica.
So when you live here, so you come like you live in a jungle. You have to watch out for animals who come bite you. Like when the war go on, we have a last knife, everything. So nobody not to try war because they know so it's dangerous.
So how many people are living here at the moment?
This is about 25 people.
25 people. Hey. This is where you cook stuff?
Rice and peas and cow food.
Sorry,
This is Thelma's bed.
Thelma's bed.
This is Sasha Berry bed.
Do you all sleep together, like all?
No, one set sleep there, one set sleep here.
Okay. So the water comes out these holes and comes down the streets.
Shoot. This is my bed. This bed made of pallets, sheets, carpets, and pillows. When the rain come down, it wash the sand and the stones, buckles, boards, and these things. The rain wash them down. All on your head and come up.
This water's coming through, and there's cockroaches and people are cooking. Do a lot of people get sick down here?
No, because we deal with it the clean way.
It's not like a sewer that some people make it out to be. So what's it like living down here?
It's not in a house, but you have to make yourself comfortable. If you don't make yourself comfortable, you're not going to feel comfortable.
What do most of the people do down here for a living?
They hustle. They have a stall where they sell snacks, biscuit, weed, cigarette, liquor, and some do sex work for a living.
Is that mainly the trans girls doing the sex work?
More manly men do sex work as well.
They do as well?
Most of them.
And is there a lot of customers thinking that the trans girls do that, they're women?
Yeah, well, it's straight man.
And what happens when they find out that they're not women?
Sometimes they will try to hit them and them fight them.
And is it just gay kids, bisexual kids, trans kids that are living down here? Or?
Straight man or straight boy.
Yeah.
Him not come live with no one bagger man.
Yeah.
So you have to be gay if you live here, so.
Do you think that the vast majority of young kids that are gay in Jamaica are living away from home, like on the streets?
Yeah, a lot, because not here so alone.
Yeah.
More be a watch here all about than live and capture us all about.
Is the reason why there's different families in the gullies because the kids coming down here just feel that they've been separated from their families, so they kind of want to create their own one?
Yeah, same system, same.
Do you have any brothers or sisters, gay brothers or sisters?
No, I have a daughter. She's about 19. My people that take care of her. So I just say I'm a daughter.
Given the isolation felt by many after being disowned by their own family members, the Gully has created its own family units. Friends become mothers, daughters, fathers, and brothers.
This is like their line, where them wash and laundry and, you know, their panties and.
So is this the delicates then?
Yeah, this are the.
That's yours?
Yeah.
What's happening up here?
This is where they put on their makeup.
And what are they getting ready for?
To go on the road. Work on this side.
Do you mean like sex work?
Yeah.
Hey, there she is. She's done that before. When did you start calling yourself Rihanna?
From me about 11.
Which Rihanna video is your favorite?
Under my umbrella.
So the
I used to love that one. I love that one. Love it, love it, love it.
What would you do if Rihanna came down to the Gully?
Well, if she come down to the Gully, I'm gonna feel because she's my idol and I love her.
But there's gonna be a bit of jealousy because you're the Rihanna of the Gully and she's gonna come on your turf.
But listen, I'm not gonna put no one over me. I am the original Rihanna. I am the real Rihanna.
There you go. Is the water clean?
Yeah, the water clean already now.
Okay, so it's clean.
Hydrant water.
So it's from like a fire hydrant water, yeah. And is there any sort of bathroom drama down here?
No. You can take as long as you want.
It's just
clean water.
It's just clean water.
These men don't want to see what you got.
Right?
Yeah, feel it.
Are you like premium real estate here, Andre?
That cake is not too sweet.
That cake is not too sweet, she says.
That's why she never get to taste it next year.
Oh, she's never had it.
She never get a slice.
Is she just bitter then?
My sister
Yeah,
told me
she
it's not
bitter.
nice.
Assistant man.
It's pretty amazing down here. I didn't realise how deep it went. It's all the way down there by the main road, and you've got this gully bit which is behind businesses, so you've got a bank up there and just a car park. It's pretty close-knit. It's quite interesting to see why people live here, and you can kind of understand why they do, because it offers the bit of seclusion that you wouldn't get from sleeping on the streets.
Alright, yes, I climb up.
Yeah.
Already in that beach where... Hold on.
Feeling pretty smug about that. Do you want a hand, Andre? No, you don't need a hand.
Yeah, well, we Jamaicans to see a gay, so gay guy. Them see a bat. Are you kidding them? Walk with them.
Despite our relatively peaceful afternoon in the Gully, it's still impossible to say that it's exactly a safe haven for these kids, especially when a lot of the people here are used to resolving day-to-day problems with violence, since that's what they're constantly exposed to out here on the streets. Kevin was an example of this.
It's about my lover will stab me up and come back again. So she bite me here, so right in my face, here, so and next time me and my chest, cut out my chest right here, so I injured so bad because the knife is actually broken my neck. And so I got a report her and show the police them the message I she sent to the phone. And she said, Kevin,
It's difficult to say what police would do to stop violence in the Gully, considering their track record with the community thus far.
Police launched a crackdown against who they say are unruly gay men. The men fled on the approach of the police team, but slowly returned to see some of their belongings going up in smoke. They were heard criticizing the police and calling for urgent assistance.
But it's not just the most visible of Jamaica's gay community that feel defenceless from homophobic abuse. I went to speak with Angeline Jackson, who runs Jamaica's only organisation to deal specifically with abuse against lesbian, bisexual and trans women.
In the context of rape and sexual violence to lesbian and bisexual women, the response that we get at the police station usually causes us to not go back. In 2009, I was raped. Yes, a rape is a rape, but this is a hate crime. You need a good fuck to straighten you out. That's how it's usually put. I remember hearing of a couple who went to the police station and said, we were raped. And the police officer looked at them and said, you get what you deserve.
After hearing Angeline's story, I was nervous about meeting up with daggering in downtown Kingston, given what had been in the news recently about a crowd mobbing a gay man on the streets of May Pen.
We don't want none of them in this town here. This is our town. We want
In spite of this, Daggering invited us to go shopping with her before her impending birthday celebrations that night.
I prefer to be a female, right? Sure. But me no say people me and me no want to get the bitch in. I have to put on a pants, a big shirt, tug it out and go up on the road. To take the eye off of me.
Who's your like fashion idol?
Rihanna.
Rihanna's your fashion idol.
Rihanna.
Which one? Sort of like full dress Rihanna or like pretty much has a vagina out Rihanna?
Pretty much has a vagina. If it comes to a test that we have to end up leave the gully, finding somewhere else, it's going to be risky. People is going to dead off one by one because they're going to split up.
As Daggering prepared for tonight's party, it wasn't clear if Jamaica was quite ready for the Gully Queens to be out and proud on the streets, particularly after hearing about what happened to trans teen Dwayne Jones, otherwise known as the Gully Queen, who was beaten, stabbed, and shot on the streets of Montego Bay after attending a party dressed in women's clothing. Dwayne's friend Chloe, who was with him on the night he was killed, has also taken refuge in the Gully.
My community wanted to kill me because they found out I'm gay. I met Dwayne Jones when I just came out 2011. He just made up his mind one day and said he's gonna go on the road in drags. So we just washed our girly clothes and we put on our makeup. We got downtown about after 11. And when we were walking, a guy said, "That guy in the white looked like a man." They chased me, but I was too fast. The crowd came around them and they were asking if he was a girl or a boy, and he just was in the middle of a crowd. And I heard the 4 gunshots. I know that somebody died. I saw Dwayne body on the ground. I literally started to cry instant. Like they used car and hit him down, they stabbed him, they chopped him. The guys are still looking for me because they said I tricked them.
After Dwayne's family initially refused to collect or bury their own child, Jamaica's only visible gay rights organisation, JFLAG, stepped in and offered to help. We spoke with Dane Lewis, head of JFLAG, in order to understand how things were ever going to change for Jamaica's targeted gay youth.
Our social support initiative basically is a response to the issues of homophobia, so persons being displaced, being injured because of homophobia, oftentimes because of the mental anguish people have to go through, mental abuse. Oftentimes it also includes counseling. Our data shows that there's only a 17% level of tolerance amongst the society, just in terms of how people relate to LGBT people. The cross-dressers and the drag queens have helped, and they play their own role in terms of advocacy. So it requires all of us to play our own role. Thought leaders to speak up against injustice. It requires church leaders to speak up. It requires our parliamentarians to speak up.
The Gully Queens were by no means shying away on the sidelines, and Daggering's birthday party was proof of that. It's your big day, don't be nervous.
Someone should pray.
I can pray.
You can pray?
I haven't prayed in a long time, but I want to bless the cake, I want to bless Daggering, and I want to bless everyone here and every LGBT Jamaican and hope for a better life. So, amen. Should we cut the cake?
And I wish you still live to see many, many more from Trina Basket.
Yeah.
You have the gay mother and her daughters who are all here, so it's a massive celebration. As you can hear, they want their story told.
Clean friend that are in straight, big up straight. I'm a nice clean friend that hears me know and I just now ask the crowd.
I have ups and downs, but you know I'm a mother-in-law, my woman, my man.
So the police have just come down and made their presence known. So it's kind of just like a show of force, but it looks like the Queens have won this one. This is better than my birthday, definitely.
With homophobic violence still such a prevalent part of Jamaican culture, and the buggery law looking likely to remain a long-staying fixture of Jamaican law, things aren't looking great for its LGBT community. Though the party down at New Kingston's Gully is a loud and proud show of defiance, the reality of what the Gully Queens, and other gay, lesbian, bisexual and transgender Jamaicans will wake up to the morning after, remains as bleak as ever.